The importance of peaceful resolution of disputes within international law has assumed even a greater importance. It is a time for the world community to acknowledge the reality that pacific settlement of dispute is today a non-negotiable global imperative and one that has to be scrupulously honored in both letter and spirit. The United Nations, as always, has taken keen interest in the topic, and we continue to draw inspiration from the commitment to the progressive development of law on this important topic, especially the Manila Declaration on the Peaceful Settlement of Disputes of 1982. Aalco has always believed and expressed the view that all settlement of disputes between states should take place through peaceful means alone, with the diplomatic measures taking priority, followed by institutional, international, or regional efforts to solve unresolvable issues in the most amicable manner. Our brief on this subject, prepared for the first time in 2018, gave an overview of the topic from an international law perspective. The brief highlighted the varied dimensions of the topic and focused on the major methods of dispute settlement which can and should be resorted to by states in their engagement with other members of the international community. Member states working on our work, welcoming our work, were of the collective view that Aalco should continue its engagement with the subject. Building on these foundations, our endeavor this year has been to re-emphasize the importance of the peaceful settlement of disputes to the world community, while additionally focusing our attention on the peaceful settlement of environmental disputes. As we are all aware, the hazards posed by climate change and rampant changes to the environment constitute one of the biggest threats to the collective existence of humanity. The emergence of environmental standards that seek to push states towards a greater green compliance has resulted in multiple interpretations and possibilities of a conflict. The rise of new technologies and the challenges posed by the increased mobility of workforce, capital, and resources across frontiers has further increased pressure on the environment to keep pace with anthropocentric activity. Catastrophes like the Amazon rainforest wildfires that made global headlines are the result of a complex interplay of factors which the world community can endeavor to prevent by advancing the understanding of environmental law and its varied dimensions. In such a scenario, a serious understanding of environmental dispute resolution is in our best interests, and Aalco remains committed to furthering our collective understanding on this important subject. We look to hear from our esteemed member states on their views on the subject and hope to incorporate the ideas that emerge for greater substantive deliberations in our upcoming annual sessions and urge greater interstate cooperation on environmental protection for the collective good of our common resources, keeping in mind the values of sustainable development in letter and spirit. Before I close, I take this opportunity to thank our member states for their strong commitment to environmental protection, and I hope Aalco's deliberations in this area will further increase our understanding of newly emerging areas on this front. Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
شكرا الأمين العام لهذه الكلمة التي ركز فيها على الحماية القانونية للبيئة وموقف أليكو من التسوية السلمية لنزاعات في القانون الدولي. والآن مع كلمة إيران في هذا الجانب. تفضل ممثل إيران.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Mr. President, we are of the view that prevention from being in a dispute is always one of the basic elements in friendly relations between states. Thus, we emphasize the fundamental responsibility of states for the prevention of disputes. We also affirm the right of all states to resort to peaceful means of their own choice for the prevention of dispute or situations. In this vein, we maintain that Article 33 of Charter of the United Nations, which contains a range of diplomatic and legal methods for settlement of disputes, should be interpreted in light of Article 2, paragraph 3 and 2, paragraph 4 thereof, which enshrines the fundamental principles of international law, serving as one of the pivotal cornerstones of the international peace and security. In fact, based on international law, not only states are free to choose resort to peaceful means, but also they are free to choose the methods for dispute settlement. The UN legal and dispute settlement system continues to reflect the state sovereignty. According to Article 33, the states will seek to peaceful means of their own choice. Mr. President, during last 5 years, the Islamic Republic of Iran has showed its commitment to international law by recourse to peaceful methods of dispute settlements. For achieving a meaningful negotiation, the Islamic Republic of Iran, during more than 18 months of lengthy and technically specific negotiations on the nuclear issue, signed the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action (JCPOA) on 14 July 2015. While the Islamic Republic of Iran demonstrated its good faith through the adoption and implementation of the JCPOA provisions with the approval of the IAEA, despite insufficient cooperation on the part of some parties to the instrument, the US unilaterally withdrew from the JCPOA in clear disregard of good faith and in sheer demonstration of an arrogant unilateralism void of respect for the most rudimentary tenets underlying international relations between civilized nations. Yet, the Islamic Republic of Iran never deviated from rule of law and instead had resort to peaceful means of settlement of disputes, that is, the International Court of Justice. On 16 July 2018, the Islamic Republic of Iran filed its application together with the request for provisional measures to the International Court of Justice to protect its right under the bilateral treaty of amity between the two countries, which were infringed as a result of the reimposition of sanctions previously lifted under the JCPOA. Last year, the court unanimously indicated provisional measures whereby, I quote, the United States of America, in accordance with its obligation under 1955 Treaty of Amity, economic relations and consular rights shall remove, by means of its choosing, any impediment arising from the measures announced on 8 May 2018 to free exportation to the territory of the Islamic Republic of Iran of, first, medicines and medical devices, second, foodstuffs and agricultural commodities, and third, spare parts, equipments, and associated services necessary for safety of civil aviation. And also, again I quote, the United States of America shall ensure that licenses and necessary authorization are granted and that payments and other transfer of funds are not subject to any restriction insofar as they relate to goods and services referred to in point. The U.S. is also under an obligation to comply with order of provisional measures as indicated by the court in paragraph 100 of the order. The court reaffirms that its order on provisional measures have binding effect and thus create international legal obligations for any party to whom the provisional measures are addressed. Nevertheless, the United States failed to implement the order to this date, which is in contradiction with the aforementioned paragraph of the order and the ICJ jurisprudence. Mr. President, finally, I would like to refer to the activity of the Special Committee on the Charter of the United Nations, which intended to consider methods of dispute settlement embodied in Article 33 of the United Nations Charter. During last 2 years, negotiation and inquiry, mediation and good offices have been considered in framework of this agenda. which has led to representing useful contributions from different states on these methods. We are of the view that considering each method of peaceful settlement of dispute in framework of this Aalco's agenda might be a fruitful study. In conclusion, my delegation believes that empowering and strengthening of existing international legal tools for peaceful settlement of disputes between states should be among the priorities of the international community, including those of the Aalco. I thank you, Mr. President.
شكرا لممثل إيران على تركيزه على أن جميع الدول لها أحقية اللجوء إلى السبل السلمية والتركيز على ميثاق الأمم المتحدة وبالتالي نحن مع التسوية السلمية للمنازعات السلمية. والآن مع ممثل اليابان فليتفضل.
Thank you, Vice Chairman, for allowing me to take floor on this important topic. First of all, I would like to express our gratitude to the Secretary General for compiling a detailed report. As mentioned in the Secretariat's report, Japan proposed to include this topic for the first time during last year's Aalco annual session held in Tokyo. As a permanent forum on international law issues, Aalco has contributed to the exchanges of views and practices among its member states. On the other hand, discussions at Aalco have focused primarily on substantive law. Aalco is a perfect forum to learn other states' experience in dispute settlement as well, and that is why Japan proposed to take up peaceful settlement of dispute at the annual session hosted in Japan. Sovereign states are free to choose a means of dispute settlement that is most appropriate given the nature and circumstances of the dispute. But when a dispute cannot be solved through negotiations, Japan believes in the role a third-party settlement can play in dispute settlement. To show Japan's commitment to peaceful settlement of disputes, Japan made in 1958 the optional clause declaration under Article 36(2) of the ICJ statute. As for ITLOS, Japan has not made any reservation pursuant to Article 298 of UNCLOS, limiting the applicability of compulsory procedure entailing binding decisions. And as a matter of fact, Japan has participated fully to all proceedings before the ICJ and ITLOS. Mr. Vice Chairperson, we witness increasing number of cases in dockets both in ICJ and ITLOS. This is a reflection of confidence states place on court and tribunal. We share common interest in maintaining such credibility. Finally, agenda identifies peaceful settlement of international environment dispute. A challenge in referring environment disputes to international courts and tribunals could be associated with the highly technical and scientific issues that are involved in such disputes. The courts and tribunals will be required to assess large volume of facts and the evidence presented before it, and the role of experts and witness will be essential. Perhaps, for example, it is time for the International Court of Justice to consider making more use of court-appointed experts to assist the court in properly ascertaining the technical and scientific facts and evidence. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
شكرا لممثل اليابان والذي ركز على اقتراح اليابان لبند التسوية السلمية للمنازعات وتحدث عن اختصاص المحكمة الإلزامي محكمة العدل الدولية. والآن مع كلمة ممثل أندونيسيا فليتفضل.
Thank you. Mr. Vice President, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, allow me on behalf of the Indonesian delegation to deliver our intervention for the issues of the peaceful settlement of disputes as follows. Indonesia supports positive steps for dispute settlement. Peaceful settlement of disputes, we believe, will contribute to the stability of our region and in a global scope as well, and encourages a better legal order transcending numerous issues. Indonesia is one of the countries that prioritize peaceful settlement of disputes. This is shown with numerous practices that Indonesia has gone through, settling disputes in a peaceful manner, such as the case of Sipadan Ligitan and a number of cases under the WTO. Mr. Vice President, distinguished delegates, within the scope of peaceful settlement of disputes, Indonesia encourages that establishment of comprehensive international mechanism in environmental related disputes. Indonesia, as one of the largest archipelagic states in the world, bordering with 10 states and located between 2 oceans, is extremely vulnerable to environmental catastrophes, especially to the marine environment. Indonesia emphasizes that development of internationally recognized comprehensive standard of indemnity for coral reefs damages, as well as pollution resulting from offshore oil exploration. In this regard, it is important to include the contingency principles in addressing environmental damages and its recovery. Thank you.
شكرا لممثل أندونيسيا على تأييده للتسوية السلمية لحل النزاعات وتركيزه على أن أندونيسيا تشجع التسوية الشاملة للنزاعات وخاصة النزاعات البيئية. كل الشكر والتقدير. والآن مع كلمة ممثل الهند فليتفضل مشكورا.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, and my fellow participants. On behalf of the Indian delegation, I take this opportunity to thank the Secretary General for his introductory remarks. And the topic chosen is highly pertinent to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. The importance of the peaceful settlement of disputes is so relevant. I thank the Secretariat for choosing this topic and dwelling on it. Mr. President, one of the major contributions of modern international law towards strengthening the principles of international law has been the emergence of peaceful settlement of international disputes as the fundamental and peremptory norm of international law. This principle has been strengthened in practice by the development of institutional mechanisms to settle the disputes. Peaceful settlement of disputes lies at the core of international legal order based on international law. Chapter 6 of the UN Charter is exclusively devoted to pacific settlement of disputes, and states are obliged to settle their disputes by peaceful means under Article 2. As the principal judicial organ of the UN, the International Court of Justice has an important adjudicatory role to play to ensure peaceful settlement of disputes. It must be highlighted that the idea of sovereign equality is enshrined in the peaceful settlement of disputes, which implies that consent of the state is irrefutable and states have the freedom to choose from the various means of peaceful settlement based on the nature of the dispute. With these general comments on the topic, I would now like to reflect on the peaceful settlement of environmental disputes, which is the focus of our deliberations today. It is common knowledge that our environment is coming under increasing stress and faces dangerous threats resulting from various human activities. This is further complicated as the environment adheres to no defined national boundaries and is seamless. The impact of national activities of one state can have significant adverse impact on the environment of another state. Due to transboundary effects of human harm to environment, peaceful settlement of environmental disputes has become a major challenge and concern of the international community. At present, there are frameworks to address and resolve these disputes. For instance, Principle 26 of the 1992 Rio Declaration mandates states to resolve all their environmental disputes peacefully and by appropriate means in accordance with the Charter of the United Nations. Further, Article 33(1) of the UN Charter specifies the means and methods of peaceful settlement of disputes, such as negotiation, inquiry, mediation, conciliation, arbitration, judicial settlement, resort to regional agencies or arrangements or other peaceful means of their own choice. In addition, most of the multilateral environmental agreements adopt all or any of these methods as a means of settlement of environmental disputes. There are also procedures laid down under Article 11 of the Vienna Convention for the Protection of Ozone Layer 1985 and Article 14 of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change 1992. WTO dispute settlement also provides for adjudicative means to settle disputes which involve trade and environmental issues. Despite the existence of peaceful settlement mechanisms, there is fragmentation and duplication of efforts which lead to incomplete or slow redressal of these type of disputes. In some cases, it has been led to the problem of multiple dispute resolution forums where one state would activate WTO dispute panel while another state would approach ITLAS or even ICJ for the same issue. This calls for greater efforts to a common understanding on resolution of environment-related disputes and an integrated approach to these disputes for their effective and speedy resolution. We recommend that Aalco could take the lead in more research on the topic with a view to design a common approach. We also urge member states to participate in knowledge and practice sharing based on their experiences. This could be a useful start which will go a long way to develop an integrated and effective approach to environmental disputes. I thank you, Chair.
شكرا لممثل الهند على هذه الكلمة القانونية الهامة والتي ركزت فيها على حل النزاعات البيئية في هذا الجانب. وأنا أقول ليس فقط البيئية ولكن هناك نزاعات متنوعة، ولكن هذا هام جدا. والآن نفتح المجال لممثلي الوفود للنقاش. تفضلوا. إذا في هناك أي تعليق أو إضافة من قبل الوفود تفضلوا. اقتراح بما انه يعني تم استكمال الوقت، اذا ما في هناك اي تعليق او اضافه من قبل اعضاء الوفود فممكن ننتقل الى بين اي بند ترونه مناسبا. ممثل فيتنام تفضل.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. on behalf of the Vietnam's delegation, I would like to have a brief observation. It is our consistent position that all disputes must be resolved by peaceful means through mechanisms and tools, including diplomatic and legal processes, in accordance with international law. It is crucial that states respect their obligation of non-use of force, refraining from actions that may escalate tension, and strictly comply with international law. In addition, we reaffirm the vitality of international legal and judicial institutions in the maintenance of international peace and security by helping states to settle disputes by peaceful means in full respect of international law. In line with this conviction, Vietnam has so far participated in 2 advisory opinion proceedings before the ICJ, International Court of Justice, on the question of accordance with international law of the unilateral declaration of independence in respect of Kosovo, the request for advisory opinion, and the legal consequences of the separation of the Chagos Archipelago from Mauritius in 1965. Mr. Vice President, Vietnam has consistently shown our utmost respect to this particular principle of international law, promoting and taking part in the peaceful means of settling dispute in order to protect the international legal order. First, it is important that states observe obligation to settle international dispute by peaceful means without resort to threat or use of force in full compliance with international law. We believe that dialogues should always be the first option, but if dialogues fail, states should refer to third-party dispute settlement mechanisms. The final decisions rendered by such mechanisms should be respected and complied with by the state concerned. We would like to thank the Secretariat for preparing a detailed report on the matter, especially the study on the peaceful settlement on international environmental dispute, as the protection of the environment has garnered more and more attention from states as well as individuals. An analysis of this rather new issue in relation with other processing matters, such as states' obligation to protect the maritime environment under UNCLOS, would be a step forward to the progressive development of international law. Therefore, Vietnam fully supports the inclusion of the peaceful settlement of international environmental dispute in this report and expect further examination on this matter. I thank you for your kind attention, Mr. Vice President.
شكرا لممثل فيتنام على هذه الرؤية القانونية الهامة والتي تؤكد على أن كافة أعضاء منظمة ألكو تلتزم بالتسوية السلمية للمنازعات، ولكن السؤال المطروح في ظل وجود موازين قوى للأسف الشديد أن التسوية السلمية تطبق على بعض الدول في ظل الازدواجية من قبل بعض الأعضاء في مجلس الأمن، وهذا يعتبر مخالفا للقانون الدولي، وهذه إشكالية يعاني منها المجتمع والتنظيم الدولي. والآن في ظل عدم وجود كلمات نطرح إذا كان هناك توافق حول بند خاص بفلسطين وهو الانتهاكات الإسرائيلية للأرض الفلسطينية المحتلة. وأنا أقول هنا يعني أشكر منظمة ألكو على اهتمامها الخاص بقضايا التحررية، وخاصة أنها أصدرت يعني كتابا حول الوضع القانوني لمدينة القدس في ضوء القانون الدولي. فإذا ممكن يعني نطرح القضية للنقاش كبند للنقاش أمام المؤتمرين. والآن أدعو الأمين العام البروفيسور فليتفضل كندي. في هناك تفضل ممثل الصين.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. We would like to address the previous topic, which was peaceful settlement of dispute, if it is okay.
نعم.
Thank you.
نستكمل هذا البند لأنه لم ينتهي بعد. تفضل.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vice President. We would like to join the other delegations in thanking the Secretariat for preparing a very detailed brief on this topic, especially the comprehensive introduction on the settlement of environmental disputes. It is widely believed that peaceful settlement of disputes is a fundamental principle of international law. We are of the view that the dispute settlement should aim at maintaining peace and achieving win-win results. To this end, China is of the view that the principle of state consent shall be strictly observed in choosing the means of dispute settlement rather than imposing a dispute settlement procedure on other states. Settlement of disputes between states through negotiation and consultation can best reflect the true will of the parties to the disputes and the principle of sovereign equality, and its results can be best accepted and executed by the parties. This is the most conducive way to settle disputes, and also the most common and important one in practice. Third-party dispute settlement institutions should strictly adhere to its mandate, refrain from expanding or abusing its jurisdiction at will, or going against the will of the parties to the disputes. This can only lead to a deviation from the original intention of promoting peace and win-win situation. Mr. President, in the field of environmental dispute settlement, apart from the traditional mechanisms for dispute settlement, one important development has been, as was mentioned by the report prepared by the Secretariat, it's the incorporation of non-compliance procedures under various multilateral environmental agreements. This procedure is of great significance in preventing disputes and facilitating implementation of MEAs, and is also a very important complement to traditional dispute settlement mechanisms. The lack of capacity and means of implementation of MEAs by developing countries needs more attention. We should uphold the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities, use the non-compliance procedures to facilitate implementation of MEAs, and ensure that the developed countries fulfill their commitment to providing financial support, technical assistance, and capacity building to the developing countries for the implementation of the MEAs. China attaches great importance to environmental protection. We integrate ecological civilization into the overall national development strategy. We promote innovation of concepts, institutions, and practices, and strive to build a beautiful country. Building a clean and beautiful world is an integral part of the pursuit of a community of a shared future for mankind. We support the strengthening of global environmental governance, including the dispute settlement mechanisms and non-compliance procedures to facilitate international cooperation in addressing environmental challenges. I thank you, Mr. President.
شكرا لممثل الصين على موقف الصين حول التسوية السلمية من أولويات المجتمع الدولي، وتأكيد على التسوية السلمية للمنازعات وعدم تطبيق المبدأ، يعني بمعنى اللجوء إلى القوة أو التهديد بها هو مخالف لميثاق الأمم المتحدة، وبالتالي لا بد، وهذا موقف كافة دول منظمة أليكو، هو الالتزام بميثاق الأمم المتحدة وعدم مخالفة المادة التهديد بالقوة أو استخدام القوة أو التهديد بها. حتى التهديد بالقوة لا يجوز في القانون الدولي. فكل احترام وتقدير لممثل الصين على هذا الموقف القانوني الذي يحترم ويقدر. شكرا. والآن مع الأمين العام لمنظمة أليكو، تفضل.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. Allow me also to bring to your attention that the state of Qatar has specially requested that to make her speech on peaceful settlement of dispute tomorrow. So as we conclude this matter, at least we should allow opportunity to the state of Qatar to make a speech on this matter tomorrow morning. With this note, Excellency, distinguished delegates, as we embark on the second topic on our agenda, namely violation of international law in Palestine and other occupied territories by Israel and other international legal issues related to the question of Palestine. Few topics in the history of Aalco have come to close determining the moral compass of Aalco as the international law issues relating to the question of Palestine. Over the years, Aalco has deliberated numerous aspects of the subject, including but not limited to the deportation of Palestinians in violation of international law, particularly the Fourth Geneva Convention of 1949, and the massive immigration and settlement of Jews in occupied territories starting from 1988. Over the course of the next 30 years, Aalco has consistently applied itself to every conceivable international dimension concerning the historic land of Palestine and her people. Different special studies outlining the position of the Secretariat on various aspects have been published and well appreciated by our member states. Our efforts have not gone in vain, and Aalco's effort in this regard and the Afro-Asian position on the rights of Palestinian people is well appreciated by the global community. It has been our consistent position over the decades that the Palestinian people have been denied the fundamental protections afforded to them by international law. The occupying power, in sheer disregard of international law, continues to violate the most basic rights of the people of Palestine. During the 57th annual session held in Tokyo, Japan, in October 2018, Aalco was mandated to prepare a special study on, and I quote, the status of Jerusalem in international law, end of quote, conceptualized in the context of recent attempt to disrupt the status quo. The Secretariat, in line with this mandate, prepared a detailed special study showing all relevant aspects of the topic from an international law perspective, keeping in mind the decision of the United States administration to shift the embassy of the country from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. I am extremely happy to mention that the study, which seeks to make an additional contribution to this important subject, has been formally released in the current annual sessions. The study is amongst the first comprehensive ones undertaken in the work of the Jerusalem embassy shift, and we hope it can bring some clarity on the varied legal dimensions and the United States practice on this subject. I invite all of you to actively participate in the deliberations that follow and share your positions on this highly significant topic for the people of the Palestine and the community, the world community at large. Thank you.
شكرا الأمين العام على هذا التقديم حول القضية الفلسطينية وحول الانتهاكات الإسرائيلية وموقف القانون الدولي والقرارات الصادرة عن الأمم المتحدة بدءا بمجلس الأمن والجمعية العامة ومحكمة العدل الدولية وكافة الوكالات المتخصصة عن هذا الجانب. وأنا حاليا الصحيح سأتحدث عن هذا البند الهام، وأشكر أعضاء الوفود في منظمة آلكو لإدراج هذا البند حول الانتهاكات الإسرائيلية في الأرض الفلسطينية المحتلة. وإدراج هذا البند يأتي ويتزامن ويتواءم ويتلائم مع مبادئ وقواعد القانون الدولي والقانون الدولي الإنساني وحقوق الإنسان، بمعنى لا يعقل أننا نتحدث في هذه المنظمة التي تمثل حوالي أكثر من 48 دولة ونحن حتى الآن نتحدث عن تطبيق واحترام القانون الدولي وما زالت إسرائيل تحتل الأرض الفلسطينية المحتلة. السؤال الذي يطرح نفسه: ما هو المركز القانوني للأرض الفلسطينية المحتلة؟ كما تعرفون باختصار منذ صدور قرار التقسيم بتاريخ 29/11/1947 ورقمه 181/2، والذي قسم فلسطين إلى دولتين، دولة يهودية ودولة عربية. أنشئت الدولة اليهودية ولم تنشأ الدولة العربية حتى الآن. وبالتالي إذن ما القيمة القانونية لهذا القرار، والذي أعتبره من ناحية قانونية وفقا للقانون الدولي هو السند القانوني لقيام الدولة الفلسطينية، بالإضافة إلى كافة القرارات ذات الصلة في هذا الجانب. الجانب الآخر في هذا القرار، هناك صدر قرار خاص حول رقم 194 صادر عن الجمعية العامة حول حق العودة والتعويض للاجئين الفلسطينيين، وحتى تاريخه لم يتم تطبيق هذا القرار. وعلى فكرة أقول من ناحية قانونية، عندما صدر أو قبلت إسرائيل كدولة في الأمم المتحدة، وعندما شارك مندوب إسرائيل في الأمم المتحدة، كان قبول دولة إسرائيل معلقا على شرطين. الشرط الأول وهو التزام إسرائيل واحترامها وتطبيقها للقرار رقم 181/2 الصادر بتاريخ 29/11/1947، بمعنى التزامها باحترام قرار التقسيم. والشرط الثاني هو احترام إسرائيل والتزامها بقرار حق العودة والتعويض للاجئين الفلسطينيين. إذن في القانون الدولي هذه الدولة هي الدولة الوحيدة المعلق قبولها على شرطين، ولم يتم تنفيذ هذين الشرطين حتى تاريخه. وبالتالي إذن السؤال المطروح هو، يعني عندما نقول بتطبيق قرارات الأمم المتحدة، الأمم المتحدة مشكورة هي في عام 1977 أصدرت قراراً باليوم العالمي للتضامن مع الشعب الفلسطيني، بمعنى تذكر العالم بقرار التقسيم حول قيام دولتين، وحتى الآن لم يحترم هذا القرار. النقطة الثانية، في عام 1967 تم احتلال الأراضي العربية المحتلة بما فيها الضفة الغربية وقطاع غزة والقدس الشرقية، وتم احتلال الجولان المحتل وصحراء سيناء في الجانب المصري. وكما تعرفون جيداً أن سيناء عادت وفقاً لاتفاقية كامب ديفيد، وكان النزاع حول طابة، وطابة عادت استناداً لقرار التحكيم ما بين إسرائيل ومصر، وعادت طابة إلى السيادة المصرية. وما زال الجولان محتلاً، وما زالت الضفة الغربية وقطاع غزة والقدس الشرقية محتلة. وأكثر من ذلك، إسرائيل لم تكتفي بهذا الاحتلال، وإنما قامت بضم مدينة القدس الشرقية، وبالتالي غيرت من المركز القانوني والذي يخالف قرار التقسيم الذي صدر وناقش وقال بتدويل هذه مدينة القدس. والجولان ما زال محتلاً، وأعلنت إسرائيل بضم الجولان بدعم وتأييد من الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية. طبعاً البند المطروح أمامنا منذ عام 1967، وإسرائيل ترتكب وتنتهك أبشع الجرائم كسلطة محتلة قائمة بالاحتلال في الأرض الفلسطينية المحتلة. وكما تعلمون جيداً أن هذه الانتهاكات، أتمنى من منظمة آليكو أن ينتقل هذا البند من عرض الانتهاكات الإسرائيلية في الأرض الفلسطينية المحتلة إلى الآليات القانونية والقضائية لمساءلة السلطة القائمة بالاحتلال في انتهاكاتها في الأرض الفلسطينية المحتلة بكافة الوسائل السلمية. أقول بكافة الوسائل السلمية، سواء في مجلس حقوق الإنسان، سواء في محكمة العدل الدولية، أو في مجلس الأمن في الجمعية العامة للأمم المتحدة، أو في كافة الوكالات الخاصة التابعة للأمم المتحدة، وليس فقط الأمم المتحدة وإنما المنظمات الإقليمية والدولية الأخرى. وهنا أركز على الاختصاص القضائي العالمي، بمعنى هناك بعض التشريعات استنادا للمادة 146 من اتفاقية جنيف الرابعة تلزم الدول بسن تشريعات وطنية لملاحقة ومساءلة من يرتكب جرائم حرب وجرائم إبادة جماعية وجرائم ضد الإنسانية بغض النظر عن مكان وقوع الجريمة أو جنسية مرتكبها. وهذه دعوة إلى أعضاء منظمة ألكو أن تسن في تشريعاتها الجزائية بما يتلائم والقضاء العالمي أو الاختصاص القضاء العالمي. وكذلك ممكن أن ندعو ونأمل من الدول في منظمة ألكو أن ندعوها للتصديق إلى النظام الأساسي للمحكمة الجنائية الدولية إذا نتحدث هنا عن آليات قانونية قضائية في القضاء الجنائي الدولي لمساءلة الدول وعن ارتكابها هذه الجرائم. بالنسبة لموضوع الأرض الفلسطينية المحتلة، أؤكد على قضية أن إسرائيل كسلطة قائمة بالاحتلال صادقت على اتفاقية جنيف الرابعة لعام 1949 عام 1951، وحتى الآن لا تعترف إسرائيل كسلطة قائمة بالاحتلال بانطباق هذه الاتفاقية على الأرض الفلسطينية المحتلة بحجج لا أساس لها في القانون الدولي، علما وأكد هنا أن كافة قرارات الأمم المتحدة الصادرة من الجمعية العامة ومجلس الأمن والرأي الاستشاري لمحكمة العدل الدولية عام 2004 أكدت على انطباق اتفاقية جنيف الرابعة لعام 1949 على الأرض الفلسطينية المحتلة بما فيها القدس الشرقية، وهذا ينطبق كذلك على الجولان المحتل من ناحية قانونية. أقول إذن ما هو المطلوب عندما نتحدث في هذه المنظمة الدولية عن الآليات القانونية وعن التسوية السلمية للمنازعات في الوقت الذي يسود فيه والذي يحكم العلاقات الدولية؟ للأسف الشديد ليس مبادئ القانون الدولي وليس مبادئ القانون الدولي الإنساني وليست المعاهدات الدولية لحقوق الإنسان التي انضمت لها دولة فلسطين. هناك أكثر من 100 اتفاقية ذات صلة بحقوق الإنسان انضمت لها دولة فلسطين ولم تتحفظ على أي معاهدة من هذه المعاهدات، ونحن كدولة تحت الاحتلال ونمتلك الشخصية القانونية الدولية وفقا للقرار الصادر من الجمعية العامة بتاريخ 29/11/2012 والذي يتناسب مع قرار التقسيم الذي أعطى المكانة القانونية لفلسطين بأنها انتقلت أو تحولت من شخص من أشخاص القانون الدولي كحركة تحرر تحت الاحتلال إلى شخص من أشخاص القانون الدولي كدولة تحت الاحتلال. إذن لنا حقوق وعلينا واجبات ونلتزم بكافة مبادئ وقواعد القانون الدولي والقانون الدولي الإنساني وحقوق الإنسان وكافة الاتفاقيات الدولية ذات الصلة. للأسف الشديد هذا المركز القانوني الواضح للأرض الفلسطينية المحتلة بما فيها القدس الشرقية، السلطة القائمة بالاحتلال لا تعترف بهذه الوضعية، وهذا يظهر جليا من خلال ارتكاب السلطة القائمة بالاحتلال إلى أبشع الجرائم والتي تسمى في القانون الدولي الإنساني الانتهاكات الجسيمة، عندما تقوم بالاستيطان بترحيل سكانها إلى الإقليم المحتل. هذا يعتبر انتهاكا صارخا لمبادئ وقواعد القانون الدولي الإنساني وخاصة نص المادة 49 من اتفاقية جنيف الرابعة، وكذلك يعتبر انتهاكا للمادة 8. تعتبر الاستيطان يعتبر جريمة حرب يعاقب عليها القانون. وهنا أتحدث عن الآليات أن دولة فلسطين مرفوع، أشكر الذي تحدث مندوب عن أو ممثل المحكمة الجنائية الدولية، وهناك مرفوع 3 ملفات قانونية بامتياز، هو ملف الاستيطان وملف الأسرى وملف الحرب الأخيرة على قطاع غزة عام 2014، وحتى الآن لم نسمع أي إشارة من قبل المحكمة الجنائية الدولية. لماذا المحكمة الجنائية الدولية فقط الملفات المرفوعة أمامها هي من القارة الأفريقية، وبالتالي حتى الآن لم يصدر للأسف الشديد إلا بعض الأحكام؟ وهذه سؤال مطروح أمام المحكمة، لا بد من التحرك من أجل تحريك أو الشروع في التحقيق ليس فقط من قبل المدعي العام، وإنما بالتعاون مع الغرفة التمهيدية في المحكمة الجنائية الدولية من أجل الشروع بالتحقيق وإجراء اللازم لمحاكمة ومساءلة من ارتكبوا جرائم حرب وجرائم إبادة جماعية وجرائم ضد الإنسانية. وآخر شيء تم المصادقة على جريمة العدوان في النظام الأساسي للمحكمة الجنائية الدولية. فالاستيطان يعتبر جريمة حرب، وإسرائيل تحت بند فرض سياسة الأمر الواقع سواء في مدينة القدس أو في الضفة الغربية. كذلك هناك نية لرئيس الوزراء أعلنها بأنه سيقوم بضم الأراضي الفلسطينية المحتلة، وخاصة في منطقة الأغوار التي تعتبر السلة الغذائية للأرض الفلسطينية المحتلة في هذا الجانب. إذن ما هو المطلوب من الشعب الفلسطيني؟ نعم، نحترم ونلتزم بكافة قرارات للأسرى لحركات التحرر الوطني تم حسمها في القانون الدولي في المادة 4 بند 1 من البروتوكول الأول لعام 1977، بمعنى الحركات التي تناضل من أجل حق تقرير المصير وضد الاحتلال الأجنبي وضد السيطرة الاستعمارية. هذه النزاعات تعتبر نزاعات مسلحة دولية، بمعنى أنها تتمتع بالمركز القانوني لأسير الحرب، وإسرائيل
status of fighting for their rights.
أن تقوم الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية
The US
القضية وفقا لقرارات الشرعية الدولية
is violating the
بمدينة القدس كعاصمة.
international legitimacy has already been accepted. Jerusalem has been already accepted international law as the capital of East Jerusalem, capital of Palestine. And what Israel was Palestine was US has done is against the international law and is against all international agreements and conventions, and this according to me constitutes a violation the 1961 resolution, and also violates the international diplomatic relations. A complaint has been raised by Palestine that US has violated Vienna Convention of Diplomatic Relations.
التي تبدأ الرد الأمريكي في شهر نوفمبر من هذا العام. الحديث عن
Talking about the violations, Israeli violations, is long. It will take long time.
للرأي الاستشاري الذي صدر من محكمة العدل الدولية عام 2004.
But I'm going to ask what is the legal value of the opinion of the UNGA. UNGA represents 193 states of the world, and this is international community. There is an executive authority that is Security Council consists of 15 members, but the resolutions issued by UNGA represents the will of the international community. Therefore, we have to relook at the resolutions of the UNGA. From legal perspective, UNGA resolutions are not binding. If they are not binding, if that is not binding, and that on what basis Israel has been established, because it was the resolution of ENGA to establish Israel. There are a number of resolutions, 333 and other such resolutions with regard to Israel, but Israel as an occupation force does not respect any of the agreements and resolutions for vis-a-vis Palestinian people, and it is trying to give to Judaize the East Jerusalem. It's also trying to deport, forcefully deport Palestinians from this situation. From legal perspective, constitute flagrant violations of international law. There must be international legal protection for Palestine, and legally these organizations like Aalco and Arab Organization, Islam IOC, and African Union, and American organizations, all the organizations, they have clearly expressed their support for a Palestinian cause, and also they have condemned the violations committed against the Palestinian people, the civilians, and the cultural and religious properties. When we talk about Jerusalem, the occupation force is violating the Lahai Agreement about legal protections. Jerusalem is a world heritage, and all the cultural properties located here need protection. This is as dictated by several resolutions of UNGA, but none of these have been respected by the occupation forces. When we talk about Gaza, we have already discussed about sanctions. We have been suffering from the sanctions by occupation forces. Is it rational that Israel as an occupation force, when it withdrew from Gaza, declared our territory as an enemy territory? Even our certificates, even birth certificates, are issued by the occupation force. This economic blockade and this collective sanctions against Palestinian people in Gaza, from my point of view, are gross violation of human law, and we have to hold legal responsibility. We must hold Israel responsible for this. Therefore, when I talk about this item, we must not treat this item not only raising our complaint, but we should try as an organization, international organization, that we shift from developing mechanisms, judicial mechanism or legal mechanism, so that we are able to demand punishment for Israel and implementation of the provisions of ICJ and also International Criminal Court of Justice. All the policies by USA and also the deal of the century, deal of the century and whatever, we will always say no to Jerusalem becoming part of Israel, and all that has been proposed. In fact, marginalization of the international role with regard to of the Palestine, taking recourse to resolution with regard to Korean War. Why Security Council resolution was not implemented? In spite of my respect for ICJ judges, UNA resolutions are merely recommendations. They are not binding on states. If you talk about legal systems and international law, why are we not demanding international community to respect rule of law, international law and UN Charter? The country which is violating continuously and also avoiding legal responsibility and criminal responsibility, we have to relook and demand fundamental reforms in UN of the United Nations. The thing which is governing the international relations is the law of the power, not of the justice. US has been blocking all international resolutions, not only relating Palestine but also other countries also. I reiterate, these violations considered to be documented, well documented. There are number of human rights organizations within Israel and within Palestine and other such organizations which have very clearly documented these violations, and there are reports from Amnesty International and also reports of international human rights. Fact-finding committees have been formed in Palestine occupied territories, and also the public prosecutor has been, we have met. In spite of all these reports, clear reports and the resolutions of international resolutions, they have not been reported to, they have not been raised to the Security Council. These reports, when they are referred to, when they are put up before UNGA, whether they are discussed, we clearly feel there is a double standard in the United Nations and especially in the Security Council, where the United States is putting a great exercise power and influence over it. With regard to Palestinian issue, as a Palestinian people, we always support and adhere to the principle of peace as part of international charter, international agreements and conventions, relevant conventions relevant to human rights. But on the contrary, as a Palestinian people, we appeal the international community, please, it is time for us to please solve this our issue based on resolutions of international legitimacy, UN resolutions, because these resolutions will always remain relevant. Let peace begin from Palestine, and let peace prevail all parts of the world, not only in Palestine but in other parts. At the end, I thank all of you for your solidarity for freedom movement and the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination, and thank you very much. Now thank you, Vice President, for this influential and inspiring speech. And I hope that the statement that I am going to put and delivering should be taken as the position of State of Qatar vis-a-vis Palestinian issue and the peace process has been unwavering, and that is the support of the rights of the Palestinian people, and also condemnation and disapproval of Israeli illegal procedures. State of Qatar believes that the just issues cannot be resolved, should not be resolved by the standard of power, an equation of the occupier and the occupied, but they must be resolved with respect to international legitimacy, and also ensuring stability in the Middle East is inevitably linked with the resolution of Palestinian issue in a just manner, in accordance with the principles and resolutions and Charter of United Nations, which determines the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination. The barbaric aggressions by the occupation forces, which has resulted in the deterioration of situation in the Palestinian territories, especially the inhuman situation which the Gaza is living, and also the choking blockade suffered by the Palestinian people, and also continuation of the settlement in the Western Bank, and the flagrant violations of international humanitarian law and the Fourth Geneva Convention makes it mandatory for the people to condemn them. The State of Qatar emphasizes the significance of peaceful settlement of and diplomatic resolution of this issue based on the international resolutions, and foremost being the principle of resolution of two states and the Arab Peace Initiative. Aalco has always played a significant role in this item in order to bring together international visions in Asia and Africa. We hope that the efforts of this organization become fruitful, and thank you. Thank you. And we appreciate and value for this initiative, and this speech by the Qatar is based on international legitimacy resolutions. Now I call upon the delegate of Indonesia.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. My delegation believes the current issue of violations of international law in Palestine and other occupied territories by Israel and other international legal issues related to the question of Palestine is of utmost importance. Indonesia strongly deplores Prime Minister Netanyahu's statement declaring Israel's plan to annex parts of the West Bank if he remains in power. The statement he made clearly contravenes international law and various UN resolutions and threatens the prospect of the peace process. Indonesia always attaches priority to the issue of Palestine, particularly during Indonesia's non-permanent membership of the United Nations Security Council for the period of 2019 and 2020. Mr. President, distinguished delegates, the overall situation with regards to the issue of Palestine is marked by the lack of credible peace process and plan, more worsening economic and financial condition. That is due to the occupation-related policies that finally resulted also to the worsening humanitarian situation among the Palestinian people. On that background, Indonesia highlights three urgent points that need international attention and intervention. First, the protection of the Palestinian civilians. Second, the need to address the humanitarian condition. And third, the peace process that must be resumed. To establish a credible peace process, Indonesia is of the view that it must fulfill the following criteria: inclusivity of all parties of the conflict, Palestine and Israel; comprehensiveness, seeking solutions not only for economic purposes, but also for political reasons; be in conformity with internationally agreed parameters which address the core issues of the conflict, such as the border issues, settlements, return of refugees, East Jerusalem as Palestine's capital, security and access to water. Mr. President, distinguished delegates, Indonesia reiterates its strong commitment to support Palestinians and Israelis to resolve the conflict based on international law, relevant UN resolutions, and prior agreements, and realizing the two-state vision, Israel and Palestine living side by side in peace and security. Indonesia will continue to play an active role within various international forums to ensure that any peace initiative shall be based on the two-state solution and the aforementioned principles. In this regard, Indonesia calls upon all Aalco members and partner countries to refocus attention on the need for addressing the issue of Palestine as the root cause of all conflicts in the Middle East. I thank you, Mr. President.
شكرا لممثل اندونيسيا على هذا الموقف القانوني والسياسي النابع من قرارات الشرعية الدولية، وأن القضية الفلسطينية ليست قضية اقتصادية وليست قضية إنسانية، وإنما هي قضية سياسية، وبالتالي هذا الموقف المؤسس على حل الدولتين.
Therefore, the principle of solution of two states must be we demand in this context that international conference should be held. We reject the deal of the century proposed by US. Now we call upon China.
Thank you, Mr. President, for giving me the floor. Mr. President, the question of Palestine is at the core of the Middle East issue and also is the root cause of the regional issues. Safeguarding the legitimate rights and interests of the Palestinian people is a shared responsibility of the international community. Foreign occupation and historical grievances are the source of this complex and difficult issue. Recently, the conflict in the Gaza Strip has escalated. The situation in Jerusalem has remained grim. Settlement construction and the destruction of Palestinian property has continued. Inflammatory rhetoric and actions have been frequent and escalated. The Middle East peace process has stalled. The international community should continue to endeavor to resolve the Palestine issue peacefully by upholding multilateralism, promoting dialogue and negotiations, and through political consultation based on international law. China is of the view that three principles should be observed in the settlement of the Palestinian issue. First of all, insisting upon peace talks and promoting Palestinian-Israeli relations return to the right track of resolving differences through equal dialogue and negotiation at an early date. Secondly, adhering to international consensus and principles, including the two-state solution, relevant UN resolutions, the principle of land for peace, and the Arab Peace Initiative, upholding the establishment of a fully sovereign Palestinian state, and promote peaceful coexistence of Palestine and Israel as two states. Thirdly, ensuring the voice and propositions of parties concerned, especially Palestine, are heeded, and avoiding imposing any solutions. Mr. President, Chinese government's position on this item is clear and consistent. China has always been committed to supporting the just cause of the Palestinian people to restore their legitimate national rights, China supports the establishment of an independent Palestine state that enjoys full sovereignty on the base of 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital. China stands ready to work with the international community to promote a comprehensive, just, and lasting solution of the Palestinian issue as soon as possible. I thank you, Mr. President.
شكرا للموقف التاريخي والقانوني الثابت للصين تجاه القضية الفلسطينية والمؤسس على قيام دولتين ويستند إلى إعادة
reiterating the establishment of two states not based on the hegemony of the occupation force or the hegemony of the United States. The position of China has always been supportive of the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people. And finding solution, it is not on the shoulder of the Palestinian people alone. All international communities also share this responsibility. Egypt. Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to express the position of Egypt with regard to the item violations in Palestine and other Israeli violations and the legal position of Jerusalem. Egypt has been always unwavering support to the rights of the Palestinian people and the right of independent state, with Jerusalem being East Jerusalem being its capital. And we also reiterate that it is illegal to annex the territories, and we call upon the international community to implement the UN resolutions and the UN Security Resolution of 1970 and UN Resolution of 2016. Egypt reiterates and declares the illegality of the Israeli settlement, including in East Jerusalem, which constitutes violation of UN resolutions, and also reiterates the necessity for Israel to adhere to fulfill its obligations according to as per the provisions of international law, especially the 4th Geneva Convention of 1946 in all occupied Palestinian territories, including Gaza and West Bank, including the East Jerusalem. Egypt supports also peaceful settlement of Palestinian issue through negotiations between Palestinian and Israeli sides, and based on the resolutions of international legitimacy and Arab peace initiative. With regard to the legal status of Jerusalem, Egypt reiterates that there is a legal status, firm legal status of East Jerusalem, which is occupied Palestinian land occupied by Israel. That any steps which might change the status of Israel are null and void and must be declared null and void, because they violate the UN resolutions, UN Security Council resolutions. We must point out that Egypt has made efforts after the announcement of US President declaring East Jerusalem the capital of Israel, and reiterates that this violates the international law, and also calls upon international community to refrain from shifting their embassies to East Jerusalem. In spite of the failure of the Egyptian resolution in Security Council, but UNGA has already adopted its content. 10/L22 in December in 2017 with a massive majority, which reflects the position of the international community in support of the rights of the Palestinian people, and also in order to work for the implementation of the outcomes of the resolutions, and which has made the East Jerusalem one of the thorny issues must be resolved according to the relevant UN resolutions. And thank you very much. We thank the representative of Egypt, which is the legal position of Egypt, which is based on international resolutions. Egyptian position and Arab position is firm, is unwavering in spite of resolutions coming from United States or the occupation forces. All thanks and appreciation to Egypt for this position. Thank you. Now, I would like to invite the Secretary General. Please speak on.
Your Excellency, the Vice President of Aalco, Excellencies, distinguished delegates. We have received requests from the Islamic Republic of Iran that the statement of the Islamic Republic of Iran on this subject matter will be delivered tomorrow morning. That means, as we conclude this item, namely the evaluation of international law in the Palestine and other occupied territory by Israel and other international legal issues related to the question of Palestine, we shall accommodate one statement from the Islamic Republic of Iran tomorrow morning. Mr. Vice President, on the account of today's program, I would want to put on record the following: that tomorrow we shall begin by receiving the statement on the peaceful settlement of dispute from the state of Qatar, to be followed by the statement on the question of Palestine from the Islamic Republic of Iran. Thereafter, we shall embark on the topic of International Law Commission. I'm aware that all members of the International Law Commission are expected to sit on the dais, and Ambassador Dr. Hasuna, who is the chair of the working group method of the International Law Commission, will also make a necessary remark, to be followed by Professor George Norte and also other members that may wish to make necessary remarks before opening forum for discussion. After the topic of the International Law Commission, we shall embark on the topic on international law in the cyberspace, to be followed by the topic on the law of the sea. I wish to take this opportunity once again to emphasize the point that under the law of the sea, there are 3 items that are going to be deliberated tomorrow, namely marine biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction, the freedom of navigation in international waters and international straits, and the legal regime for combating illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing. Mr. Vice President, if tomorrow we are able to cover the 3 topics, namely ILC, cyberspace, and the law of the sea, that means the following day, on Thursday, we shall be able to cover the topic of the international trade and investment and receive reports of Aalco's regional arbitration centers, and also do the conclusion session for this annual session, allowing delegates on Friday to enjoy the other hospitality that will be arranged and announced by the Secretariat of the host. With this note, Mr. Vice President, I would recommend that We adjourn this meeting for short break to be followed immediately by the organized dinner where the transport arrangement will be announced by the host secretariat. Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
شكرا سيد الأمين. طيب الآن فترة استراحة.
Now we are stopping here
دقائق
for
وبعدها
10 minutes, and after that we will return to hall and for announcement regarding transport and also dinner. And thank you very much for your we thank you for your legal effort in this session and other sessions also. Thank you all indeed.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes today's session. Now, just a few updates before we leave. We are all to leave to head to Yohari Rotana Hotel for the reception that is prepared by the ambassador from the People's Republic of China. Now, your liaison officers have details regarding the buses in which we are all to board, and the buses are allocated according to the destinations that will be you will be taken back after you board the bus. So for now, you can board any bus, but each bus number is allocated a specific destination or hotel that you will be later shuttled back to. So for example, bus number 1, there is plate numbers and the name of the driver and the responsible officer, also the destination after the